amigo. Hola. Mucho gusto. Mi nombre es Carlos. CarlosAlexis Cruz. And I'm your typical Mexican gangster. Or at least according to the screen and TV industry, right? I can play any of those typical Latino characters. I can be Pedro, your gardener. I can be Juan, the bouncer in the Latino club. I can be salsa dancer to the left. All right? Oh, and my favorite one is whenever I say to people that I've worked for Telemundo, I can see just their eyes shine and say, picturing myself going down to my knees and just say, ¿Por qué? And although, you know, I've been quite successful at that, and I've enjoyed it, that is not just what I am. So I just hate to break it down to y'all, but I am not this. I am not your gardener. I am not salsa dancer to the left of the bar. And I am particularly not that guy with a bandana low enough to scare the heck out of you. I'm also an actor. I'm a stage director. I'm a producer. I pursue training to find ways to tell stories. I found my own company. I'm an artist. Once in this business, stuff like this just happened to you. Just get caught in that particular box that people want to put you in. And for me, that is okay, but there's way more to people than that. There's way more to people in experiences and in life. And once I found out that I could say the things that matter to me, that I could find ways with art to actually communicate and advocate for people like me, I decided to do whatever it took to go and pursue that path. So I just decided to create and step out of that commercial world and find my own way of doing things. I first started picking a poem that is very dear to my heart. It's entitled A Suicide Note from a Cockroach in a Public Housing Project. It was written by a New Yorican poet named Pedro Pietri. He uses the metaphor of cockroaches to refer to Latino, which could be a little bit, you know, hurting a little bit in your heart. You know, cockroaches go to a place and they hide and then go, you know. So the metaphor is perhaps we go to work and then go home and then go out there and buy lunch and then go home again. And we live in constant struggle. The poem talks in Spanglish or broken English terms, but in a very funny way. And I thought to use that poem would be the emphasis on the way of I actually perceive Latinos in this country. So with that, I gather my ideas, my talents. I forgot to say that I'm also a circus performer and I do acrobatics. So I gather all of that and found ways to pitch it to friends and fellow artists so we can also create together. So it took me a week, a month, maybe a year later, and I gathered enough artists to come up with me and do this proposal, the Cockroach Show. Spectacular. So, and we actually found funding. And to be a long story short, the show was very successful. It toured the West Coast from the Pacific Northwest to LA. Very well sought out, contemporary circus show talking about Latino experience. And I think the most important thing is that it has a root. The root is pretty deep in a strong belief, in a way that I as an artist see things and things that I want to advocate for. So the Pelú Theater Project is a contemporary company that produced like 3 shows, always advocating for Latinos. From immigration to deportation, from happiness to struggle to uncertainty. And that is precisely what I wanted, what I found when I saw my voice as Latino. Now I find myself in a different setup. As I mentioned to you, or not, I can't remember, I'm now a college professor. I teach here. I found myself in a new city, teaching at a new university. And the thing that I like to see from students is precisely that they find their own voice. Because it's more important to do art in first person and understanding what you bring to the table than just portraying character. I want a new generation of theater makers that want to embrace who they are with their upbringings. Whether that is that you grow up in the mountains of the Carolinas or you grew up in Africa and you are living here now, you bring so much to the table that makes you a three-dimensional figure. And that is what is important for us in art, for the people in the audience, and that's what makes art relevant. So that's what I tell to my students. And now also I find myself in the midst of a new project. This thing that we call the Nouveau Sud Project, where I find myself in this city, as I said. But I find that this particular city, like many cities in the United States, are segregated culturally. We celebrate culture just in different sectors, in festivals, and then we ignore them. Okay? And we just do art because art is pretty, but it is not necessarily a meaning behind it. So I'm trying to find different groups, and I found what I call cultural neighborhoods in this town with very rich tradition to them, both physical and in performing arts. And I'm just bringing a little bit of what I do with circus arts with them, and we're finding new ways to tell stories. Always trying to empower the vision of new artists more than only just teaching them how to do things. Having a heart, the heart of the artist. That project is in its way, and you'll hear about it. And it is something that I think is the future. Is the future not only for this town, but for this country, in the way that we create art. And this is just for me the beginning. The idea of finding new stories, new ways, new communities, new hearts, new people. It's a new theater. That's what I want to do. I want to empower people to find their voice within the arts. So, this is it. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy playing this salsa dancer deal. I enjoy playing Latino and then the cliche. As I said, I've been good at it. But I just refuse for people to put me in a box just for their own convenience. That's the only thing I don't want. I can use that box to tell things, but I don't want people to take advantage of it. There's many things to be said from there. So, now this one I definitely will borrow from my friends, hermanos y hermanas Mexican. Que viva la raza, que viva la cultura y que viva el arte latino, el arte en general. Gracias.